Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where I'm strongly considering filing a lawsuit against WWE for taking my nickname Fireface.
I mean, I get it. Like every single ginger person that I know, they're always like, "Yeah, call me Fireface." I don't know what it is about you guys.
It's a thing we do, it's a thing we say. It's just how it is.
Well, I am not Fireface. I am Jazz,
I'm Johnny, also Fireface.
also Fireface, and we are here to recap Monday Night Raw. Before that, a quick plug. If you do like our content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It makes us really, really happy. It makes Fireface really happy as well, right?
The face lights up
There you go. The face
like a
turns red.
fire.
The face turns red and the face lights up. But so Raw, in a nutshell, before we kind of jump in, I thought it was a pretty good episode, right? I mean, again, barring the fact that it's still 3 hours and it's always going to remain 3 hours. I thought it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, we might actually give it something other than a 7 at the end. Who knows?
I know. Okay, but stay tuned. So
It's crazy.
Raw opens up with Miz TV, and I gotta say, the Miz looks like $1 million. And
Whoa.
they promote the show tonight, and they talk about the matches coming up. They kind of plug their huge six-man tag match, and he talks about Miz and Mrs. Randy Orton interrupts him, and he only agreed to the six-man tag match so that he can get his hands on Drew McIntyre. But he knows that the Miz planned all of this, right? Like the Miz wants to kind of be the ultimate opportunist and kind of cash in when Randy Orton isn't kind of like watching and he's like down and out. And the Miz is like, well, no, actually tonight could be really big for all of us, and it could be really big for us as a team if we emerge victorious, because then, we're gonna be in line for the Raw Tag Team titles, which he does make a good point.
Yeah, they really turned that around there. But Randy's not in a good mood at all, and he's not in a good mood for the entire episode either.
Oh no, he's definitely not. And out come the New Day, and his mood is not gonna get any better because
Absolutely not.
they're basically gyrating. They're ridiculing them. They get in the ring, and Orton just kind of RKO's Kofi right away. That was just hilarious, I thought.
Yeah.
They cleared the ring, and your favorite Drew McIntyre comes out.
Yes, he does. He does clean house, but unfortunately, the numbers game is too much. While he's got his hands on Orton, Miz hits him in the back with the briefcase, and then in a sign of teamwork, Miz and Morrison pick up Drew and toss him into Randy Orton, who hits him with an RKO. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
they're on the same page for their six-man tag.
It seems that for now they're on the same page. And before we get in the ring with Elias, which is our next segment, we are shown a graphic of the Undertaker's final farewell at Survivor Series. Dot dot dot. Until there is a new Saudi Arabia show.
I mean,
That's just my opinion.
it happened with HBK. It could happen to
That is
you.
true. That is so true. So, we're in the ring with Elias, and something is different. He doesn't have his usual acoustic guitar. Now he has an electric guitar.
That's
And
true.
he kind of, he's kind of boasting his number one selling album. He talks about the last few weeks having, really gone well for him. It's as if Hardy's latest addiction is to kind of hit Elias in the back with guitars.
I
Obviously, they
thought that
have.
was a good line.
It was, and they always have to mention Hardy's addiction, right? It kind of makes sense, but to honor his
True.
fans for understanding and appreciating his greatness, he's gonna sing us a song, and he's kind of reluctant, isn't he, to kind of play some new tunes, isn't he? Right?
Uh huh.
Yeah, because he's
I
kind of,
guess he's gonna get interrupted again,
and that's
or maybe he just
exactly,
knows that's what's gonna happen.
and you are
Yeah,
right. That's exactly what happens. Jeff Hardy is there, and he interrupts, and there's also a third competitor, Riddle, and it's just Riddle now.
he's just Riddle. So what is this? This is a second chance triple threat match. The three guys who lost and didn't qualify for Team Raw
Yeah.
are gonna have an opportunity to qualify for Team Raw. It's like a Natalia storyline on SmackDown. It's great. And the only problem with the match really is that it's a little bit predictable what the outcome
Yeah.
is going to be. Given that there's two guys feuding and then a third guy, and Riddle was the guy I didn't expect to actually lose his qualifying match. But we saw some good stuff between the three competitors, right?
Yeah, I mean, I personally thought that it was a pretty decent match. At the beginning, we see like a flurry of roll ups, and like no one is really able to get the upper hand. We do see Elias kind of hit the like a baseball slide onto the outside, and he kind of throws Hardy into the post. And after the break, it's all Matt Riddle. Like he's in full control. He's actually setting Hardy for a bro Derek, but Hardy actually reverses, and he uses Matt Riddle's body to hit a poetry in motion on Elias, which basically kind of Elias is out. And Hardy and Riddle, they're kind of going back and forth, and we see like a great reversal from the two, which I thought that was a pretty good sequence to kind of end the match. And this is where Elias kind of comes back, hits a running knee on Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy is gone. And Riddle actually takes advantage of that, and he hits the Bro Derek for the win. So Riddle, I'm sorry, I said Matt Riddle, but Riddle goes on, and he gets a second chance. He's going to be the last member to represent Team Raw.
Yeah, and this was, keep in mind, the knee strike from Elias to Jeff was right before the twist of fate. It looked like Jeff had Riddle, sorry. And another thing I'd like to point out that I really enjoyed was Elias reversed the twist of fate into the drift away, which I thought was just really smooth.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that AJ is watching this backstage as the self-proclaimed Raw team captain.
And I'm actually glad that you mentioned AJ Styles, because the next segment, he's talking to Adam Pearce. We don't really know what's kind of going on, and then, Charlie Caruso comes in and she interviews him about, the match and Riddle. And he's really happy about Riddle winning, and he's really happy that Riddle is actually on Team Raw. And then your favorite Sheamus butts in, and he's not really happy about, Matt Riddle making the team. He calls him an obnoxious punk, if I remember correctly. And
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then, Sheamus is like, AJ's not my captain. Braun Strowman comes in and he's like, AJ's not my captain either. And it seems like we're going to get another segment from all of them, which I'm just going to say right now, that was my favorite segment of the night.
Yeah, they did it 2 weeks in a row where they were the peak. Their in-ring promo and their interactions are just great. But something less interesting is a quick Retribution backstage promo where basically...
Like, I was going to ask you, what did you think about it? And also, Mia Yim hinting a possible feud.
I mean... It kind of just went in one ear out the other. All I remember was really they're going to shut you down. Kind of the same stuff they've been doing. I was kind of not into it after the way they've been portrayed.
Yeah, but Mia Yim does talk about a pink green-haired trash. Clearly, she's referencing to Asuka. So, are we going to get an Asuka and Mia Yim feud, and how amazing would that be?
I'm sure it'll be really good. And if that's one way to get Retribution to be more interesting, this is it, because Asuka hasn't really feuded with anyone.
Yeah,
she does have her cross interbrand thing at Survivor Series with Sasha Banks, but what's after that? This could be an interesting thing. And Retribution is starting to look a little bit better actually with their later segment in this episode. So maybe it's a sign of positive change and a good turnaround.
Listen, I'm not gonna delve too deep into this since this is a Raw recap. But if you haven't had the chance to listen to Corey Graves' podcast with Mustafa Ali, you should definitely listen to it, because he says that listen, the ball is in my hand. Just be patient. Give me a chance. And he's like, I'm not gonna drop this. Retribution is all mine, and I'm gonna prove that this is actually good. So I'm definitely gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I love Mustafa Ali, so I think you're right. It's a sign of really good things to come. But for one person, Drew Gulak, things are not really going well, because we are backstage with the Hurt Business, and they're talking the game plan. And Gulak butts in, and he's looking great. And, he kind of talks about the Hurt Business expansion phase 2. But unfortunately, basically he wants to join in the Hurt Business. But instead, his clip-on tie comes off, and they start beating up on him.
Yeah, it was because of the clip-on tie, really. I think he had a convincing argument, and I think that they were on board, especially more convincing than the Titus O'Neil one from a few weeks back. So it was just the clip-on tie, really. They beat him up pretty much. Yeah. And R-Truth happens to be there as well, because, why wouldn't he be there, of course? And he pins Drew Gulak and wins the title, which is nice.
Yeah. So now we do have our next match, which is not really much of a match to begin with, because it kind of ended in 30 seconds. But we have Lana versus Shayna Baszler. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are ringside, and that's important to mention because, Lana gets choked out. So, Lana loses. And essentially, Nia is clearing the table, and we're going to see, I think it was 8 times in a row? Or 7 times in a row?
I think last week was 7, so yeah.
Yeah, so 8 times in a row, we're about to see a Samoan drop onto the announce table, but Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, they kick Nia Jax, and
the sexy muscle friends.
There you go. So basically, the sexy muscle friends, they come to, to the aid of Lana. After the break, Lana is actually backstage with them. She thanks them for helping them out, and they're like, actually, we didn't do it for you. We did it to send a message, and if you actually want to help, just stay away from us. So, poor Lana. Nobody really wants her anywhere.
Yeah, nobody wants her on their team. Wants her to be the sole survivor.
They're really writing that up, huh? Oh man.
If I'm 100% on board for it. Like, so
Yeah,
if it
me too.
happens, it'll be great.
So now we
And now,
have the captain of Team Raw. You know what? I'm gonna let you take this away and talk about how great this segment was because it was phenomenal.
yeah, quick recap is basically
Yeah.
AJ talking about how great of a leader he is, and he introduces his teammates, and he's very kind to them, and basically they start to disagree with each other. It starts with Keith Lee saying, "You're like you're not the captain," and what's up with attacking me last week? And then Sheamus is like, the chain just starts, right? So because Sheamus is like, well, you attacked me, what's up with that? And Ron's like, well, you attacked me, what's up with that? And AJ wants to calm people down, but it's not working. But Riddle has a better idea, and he decides to give them nicknames, code names actually, is what he
It's
uses.
so good.
And he calls AJ the Skipper. Braun is Mongoose. Lee is Broly, which is kind of cool. I guess it's a Dragon Ball reference because
It is.
isn't Keith Lee super into Dragon Ball too?
He's into anime.
And he calls Sheamus Fireface because of the way he gets angry and how his face turns red. And Sheamus is clearly upset and his face turns red. And Sheamus is like, well, what's your code name, Riddle? Is it Dopey? And he's like, how did you know? And at this point, AJ's had enough, and they need to be serious because he kind of talks about how good the SmackDown team is, mentioning Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens. Like, it's like, do you want to get a curb stomp? Do you want to get a stunner? No. And he says everyone needs to kind of respect each other.
Yeah.
And then he has a great idea, I guess, again, and he basically makes a tag team match playa where it's Braun and Sheamus versus Keith Lee and Riddle, where AJ is, in fact, the special guest referee.
Yeah.
And that comes right after the commercial.
So the match itself, I think the story, I mean, obviously being told is like, yes, you have AJ's bodyguard that's kind of like just big and scary, and he's being intimidating. AJ gets caught a couple of times. Poor guy, like he basically gets 2 running knees from Matt Riddle, and then he kind of gets like just stampeded by both Braun Strowman and Keith Lee, and AJ is still standing. You know what I mean? Like that's what a true captain does. But I thought it was a pretty.
But not what a referee would do, right? Because if
Yeah.
a regular referee who's made of glass, probably would have just been done.
Yeah. But I thought it was a really, really great match, man. Like, honestly, I think the chemistry between Matt Riddle and Sheamus is just out of this world. Like, they really do hit it out of the park. And Keith Lee and Braun Strowman, once again, they have put up, like, really great short matches, and the chemistry is still there. But the way that it ends, though, so kind of we have Riddle who's charging up, and he's hitting Sheamus with a running elbow, with multiple running elbows, actually. AJ intervenes. Riddle gets caught by Sheamus. Sheamus is about to hit a bro kick, but then Braun tags in. Sheamus doesn't.
And
Sheamus is
Sheamus
not
didn't like
happy.
it.
Exactly. Then Braun hits a running clothesline, and he's about to hit the running power slam, but then Sheamus tags in, and basically there's like a whole kerfuffle going on, and I believe Sheamus bro kicks Braun Strowman,
And then gets rolled up.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. He gets rolled up by Matt Riddle. So essentially,
Riddle with the roll.
That's it, Riddle with the roll. So again, obviously was it a pure wrestling match? No, but I think that it told a story, and it seems that like both teams, Team SmackDown and Team Raw, have kind of tensions going, and I think it tells for a really good story. But we're gonna kick it to our next segment. We're backstage with Alexa Bliss, who's kind of picking some flowers. Nikki Cross kind of wants to talk to her, and she wants to talk to her about her and the Fiend, and I don't know how you feel about the story, but for me, the one person that's really hitting out of the park is Alexa Bliss, and once again, some amazing acting by Alexa.
It's kind of weird because we haven't really seen the Fiend do anything, but Alexa does a great job in this promo, and obviously Nikki Cross is there trying to be a supportive friend who feels responsible for what happened to Alexa because it was during her period where she was like laser focused on the SmackDown Women's title. So she also gives her an ultimatum between the Fiend and her, and she just says him and like runs off all smiley. Too bad. She was gonna get invited to the Firefly Funhouse, but I guess that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I like when Alexa Bliss said that, she's like, "Oh, but like you'll be invited soon," and I was like, "Is that a kind of like a threat? Like, you know what I mean?" It's like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
And I was like, that was a cool way of showing Alexa Bliss as like this aloof person, but at the same time like also threatening her friend. But yeah, like I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm looking forward to the next step. But Charlie Caruso does announce that next week the Hurt Business are going to be facing the New Day for the Raw Tag Team title, so that should be interesting. And speaking of the Hurt Business, we are in the ring with MVP and Bobby Lashley. And they basically just talk about how they're going to destroy Sami Zayn, how they're going to turn him into a human ragdoll, and how the US title is better than the IC title. And unexpectedly, I didn't see this coming, but Titus O'Neil cuts them off.
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't see it coming either, but it makes sense given what happened. And I kind of did some foreshadowing myself when I was talking about Drew Gulak's pitch to the Hurt Business and how it might have been more convincing than Titus. But yeah, he basically comes in and he's upset because he was a businessman. He had a business offer and they treated him with disrespect, and it wasn't business to hit him back. Although MVP basically says, yeah, that is business for us. He challenges Lashley to a match because he feels that he's not been really defending his title. And Lashley's actually excited because while MVP did say, I'll give you a chance, you can just walk away and let it end here, Lashley's like, no, I'm glad you pushed on because I'm giving you a title shot and I'm going to beat you down, basically. Pretty and MVP also says something like, remember the actions in the ring, not under the ring or something.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was a pretty good line. But, again, Lashley has no respect for Titus, and he didn't really show any respect in this very, very short match either, right?
Yeah, so Lashley basically kind of dominates, but MVP's insult does fire up Titus, where he's able to kind of get some offense early, but then Lashley pretty much gets a spear and then locks him in the Hurt Lock. There's a bit of a struggle, but once it's locked in, it's pretty much over. Yeah. So Lashley is successfully defending his title, and he also mentioned Sami Zayn briefly in his promo before Titus came out, which something just to note. Yeah,
for sure. Now, this bromance between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, I'm all for it, man. I love it so much. So
yeah, I'm living vicariously through Sheamus right now. I want to get as close as possible to Drew McIntyre.
Oh my god. Oh, Fireface.
Close as I possibly can.
You're so funny. So, essentially, there's a whole bromance going on. Sheamus still wants Drew to join Team Raw because, he hates everyone in his team, especially Drew's tag team partners tonight, the New Day. And Drew is so funny. He starts doing the clap, the New Day clap. And he's like, listen, I'm just kind of pushing some power of positivity onto you.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, and, Sheamus talks about, the good old days of them teaming up and, what was it? Kicking heads and drinking kegs or something like that?
Something like that. And, he talks about brogue kicks and claymores. I'm like, I thought that was a fairly recent Drew McIntyre move. He never used the claymore early on, but maybe I'm wrong. It was never called the claymore, at least.
Exactly. But again, a very nice
continuity error.
Yeah, I thought it was a very nice feel-good moment, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind a team of Sheamus and Drew McIntyre just for a month or two or something like that. You know what I mean? Just kind of kicking ass on Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely, and it's great that Sheamus is still kind of a heel, but he's got respect for Drew McIntyre.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't want to mess with him. This might just be a feud one day, but I hope not. I hope it's more of a buddy thing.
I hope so too. So we do have Asuka versus Nia Jax next. But before that, yes, I know, oof. But before that, Nia Jax is interviewed, and she kind of starts bickering with Shayna Baszler about who runs the Raw Women's Division. Nia talks about how she's the team leader, and after she beats Asuka tonight, she might actually just come back and beat Asuka again and become the Raw Women's Champion. Hopefully, for everyone's sake, that is not true.
Please, no.
Now, for this match, just one thing to note, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, and Lana are ringside, so that something's going to happen with Lana. But this match was okay. It's basically Nia overpowering Asuka, but Asuka answering back with a submission hold successfully. Actually.
I did find that early on in the match she was ragdolling Asuka and Asuka and taunting her, and Asuka was kicking her, and she was just no selling it. So
yeah,
I mean, I was kind of disappointed about that. But yeah, Asuka does lock in a great submission at one point, and There's some Shayna Baszler shenanigans. At first, she tries to get involved, but Lana and Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke are no, let's have a clean match. And eventually, Asuka locks in the Asuka lock, and Shayna breaks it up and gets her disqualified, basically.
Yeah,
and that was kind of it. Asuka disappeared, and then we got what do you think we got? We got table spot number
8.
Number 8.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I would say that this was kind of the low point of the episode. So far, everything we've talked about, I pretty much enjoyed. This was a mediocre match, probably the lowest point of the episode.
Now the thing is, so this segment and then the next one, which is basically, I believe it was R-Truth being interviewed with Sarah Schreiber, and he talks about being in a GQ magazine shoot, and she's like, well, actually, you have a a 7-way match up next, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really care. But before that match begins, we have Angel Garza backstage, and he's kind of staring sensually to us, and he kind of wears his heart. He talks about how he wears his heart on his sleeve, but in the ring, like, he's cold-hearted, and like he's gonna do anything to win. And I believe he talks about us deserving a worthy man, and he offers us a rose, and but I'm like.
He specifically says he fights for the women in the world, so I don't think we're his target audience anymore.
Okay, well,
unfortunately.
Okay. I'll move on.
That rose is not for us, but it was a nice promo. And then we do have that 7-man shenanigans, which it's fine. It was short and it was kind of fun, but like, it was also not the best part of the episode.
Yeah, like, I mean, there was like 7 or 8 different like title changes. Like Tucker wins, Gulak wins, Tucker wins, and then like
I have it written down here. Tozawa wins right away by pinning Truth, and like they all watched. It was really weird. But then there was a nice exchange where Eric rolls them up, Drew rolls them up, Tucker rolls up Drew, and then Tucker's there for a bit, but Drew takes it back immediately. Tucker wins it again. They like kind of like do like they're rolling up with each other, and everyone's doing their thing. Gran Metalik wins the title. Lince Dorado celebrates with him, but actually fakes him out and wins the title. And then R-Truth hits the AA, his childhood hero John Cena's signature move, and wins the title back and runs away. And all this happened in like 2 minutes or something.
Yeah, sure, but
it was okay.
The next segment, I'm sorry, I'm just like, it's 24/7. It happened. Let's just move on. The next match was, for me, the match of the night. It was a really excellent match. They actually got 15 minutes on Monday Night Raw. Yes, there were breaks, but I thought that the pacing was really well. Obviously, Ali is favoring the slower pace now that he's a heel. But, dude, like, Ricochet hitting that beautiful Hurricane Rana on Ali onto the outside. And then back from the break, like, there's just a lot of trash talk between both men. He hits a sick gut wrench suplex, and when Retribution is about to kind of interfere, I don't even know what to call this move, but Ricochet is like on the top rope and he hits like a spinning like splash.
From the top rope he just splashes on them, and he was like full rotation. It was beautiful. There was like a beautiful suplex into a brainbuster where he held him the whole time.
That was great.
Ali hit some great clotheslines. This match was really fast-paced. Everything was good. There was a beautiful like spike reverse hurricanrana from Ricochet.
Yeah.
Ricochet misses a Phoenix splash, and this allows Mustafa to pick up the win with the kanji clutch.
Yeah,
Ricochet like kind of just like doesn't really tap, but kind of passes out quickly.
And we talked about all these amazing moves by Ricochet, but let's not forget the amazing looking backstabber that Ali hit onto Ricochet from the top rope. That was really great as well. But so
I forgot that one. That was sweet.
Yeah, so Ali wins.
They killed it.
And Retribution seems to they seem to be going on a high. And again, like, I'm all for it. Like I said, after listening to that interview, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna give Ali a shot. So now we're going to go to our main event, but before that, Randy Orton is backstage and Adam Pearce kind of approaches him, and he has some bad news to deliver. And he's like, Randy Orton, you're going to be defending your title next week against Drew McIntyre, and I'm just a messenger. Like, this is just direct order from the office. Randy Orton's not having any of it. He basically kind of grabs him by the throat, and I don't know what he said. He said something like, "Oh yeah, like, he
has a message for them."
There you go. He has a message for them,
and they can go to hell, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, Randy's upset. We weren't kidding. He's upset tonight.
Yeah, and so we have our main event, and the main event itself was fine. I thought that Randy Orton did the whole story of him not wanting to get involved in the match because that would mean that he would kind of get involved with Drew McIntyre. So he was always like pacing, basically, ringside. And even if he was on the rope, he was kind of like crouching so that he wouldn't get tagged. And during, I guess while all this was happening, like, we got to see some amazing, tag team action, not from the New Day, but from Miz and Morrison. There were so many great tag team moments from Miz and Morrison. I was like, oh man, like, this is actually really entertaining. And obviously, Kofi is down at one point, and Xavier is getting his ass kicked by Miz Morrison. And you know what was gonna happen, right? Drew McIntyre gets the hot tag. He clears everyone out. But again, like, the match itself was fine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it wasn't like super like there. Like, I mean, we just saw a really good match, so it was hard to follow what we just saw. But yeah, this one there was no real issues. At one point, Randy Orton gets off the apron and he doesn't want to get involved when Drew is in full control, and Drew kind of begs him to tag in, and he fakes tagging in Morrison and then just kind of walks away. And then, we have a nice sequence where it's like a 2-on-3 for a little bit, but like Miz and Morrison can't really win this, and eventually Morrison goes down to a Claymore from Drew McIntyre, and it was a 3-2-1 Claymore. I feel like I haven't seen that in a while.
It was, and he actually hit the Claymore on the Miz. So Morrison, I believe, he kind of hit like a corkscrew move onto the top from the top rope on the outside.
Yeah, but then he came back in the ring. It was weird.
Yeah, but the Miz,
he hit the corkscrew. He pinned. I'm pretty sure he pinned Morrison, but okay.
Hey man, I mean, maybe we're watching a different show. You know what I mean? All I know is that
I'm gonna rewatch the tape now.
All right, but
I don't think I'm wrong here.
But okay, essentially, Drew McIntyre pins Miz Morrison.
Someone,
and there's a stare down between Drew and Randy, and that's how Raw ends. So my question for you is, before we kind of sign off, is there any chance that Drew McIntyre is going to win this, so that they do Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series?
There certainly is, but I don't think so. I would love to see it. I think. Like they always do that, right? A week before Survivor Series, like something changes, so it's totally possible. Like it's not non-zero.
Now, my second
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Do you think that the New Day are gonna lose their title against the Hurt Business, so that they're gonna do Hurt Business versus Street Profits?
I feel like that one's more likely. Like you're gonna be like, oh yeah, Drew's gonna take his title back. Actually, no, the title change is this. But honestly, I see no titles changing. Like this is where you're gonna have the Fiend get involved probably and mess everything up for us Drew McIntyre fans.
That definitely makes sense.
Maybe we get a cash in Miz versus Roman. Let's do that.
Everyone wants to see that. But honestly, I think overall, like Raw was a pretty entertaining episode. Again, like the only hiccup for me was the whole Nia Jax and like Lana stuff and the 24/7 stuff, which I'm not a big fan of, but overall, if I have to kind of give it like a score, I would say like a 7.5 is pretty fair.
Yeah, I would say even an 8. Like I really didn't have any real complaints about the episode. I think that it was good.
I'm glad we disagree. Even if it
maybe SmackDown being worse makes Raw better.
Yeah, I feel like they can both never like really hit it off the park at the same time. I feel like it's always like one show that like has to do worse than the other. But listen, I think that there's a lot of good things to talk about. I think that Retribution is, that one positive sign. I think the match between Ali and Ricochet was excellent. The main event match was really fun as well. And again, like the whole development with Alexa Bliss, I think it's very entertaining. So I think there's a lot of good things to say about Monday Night Raw. And I'm actually really, really invested in this whole like Team Raw, AJ Styles being the captain stuff. I think that whole segment was really, really entertaining, and who can say no to like a really budding bromance between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that the best storyline is like a one-off thing for Survivor Series that we're gonna like immediately abandon after Survivor Series for now, but
it's always like that.
They did a great job with Randy Orton's arc. They did a great job with Drew's. Drew and Sheamus is cool. I totally agree. Like there was a lot of good stuff. It was just really the Asuka versus Nia Jax match that I didn't care for. The Lana going on the table I find is a funny gag, so I'm actually totally okay with it.
I'm telling you, watch her be like the last and remaining like survivor and win this. That would be like.
That's what I said earlier. Stop taking my ideas.
I'm sorry. But hey, we're gonna sign off. That was our recap for Monday Night Raw. Again, like if you do enjoy our video, there's a like button right there. It takes like a second to click on that, and then right below the like button, there's a description box where you'll find us on Twitter, Instagram, and wherever you listen to audio podcasts, if that's your jam. And that's it, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Oh yeah, and tell us if Miz got pinned or if Morrison got pinned, because we need to know. Got to review the footage here.
I'm telling you, man. Like you're kind of losing it. It was the Miz.
All right,
John Morrison was taken out, and the Miz was the one that got the Claymore, man.
I distinctly remember John Morrison diving out, Miz trying to get a hit on Drew, and then John Morrison coming in, and then that was the final sequence after Drew took out the Miz. That's kind of how I remember it.
Okay, so if I'm right, like the video, and if Johnny's right, like the video.
And if we're both wrong, still like the video.
Like the video. All right.
Maybe he pinned Randy Orton, and we totally messed up.